Good morning, learners. I am Dr. Munish Bharadwaj from School of Engineering and Technology. As you remember, yesterday we were discussing about the quality of supply and services, which belongs to your course 1 BEE 001, which is power distribution sector. Yesterday we discussed about the performance benchmarking, in which we discussed about the different type of benchmarks, and later on we discussed about the key performance indicators. In continuation to that, today we will discuss about the performance improvement. And to discuss about the performance improvement, I have with me Mr. B.P. Mukherjee. He is really a very learned person and has a very rich experience with him regarding the topic. Now I would like to request Mr. B.P. Mukherjee to please start his presentation and discussions.
Good morning, learners. I've been told that yesterday you have been taught performance benchmarking. You have been given some conceptual framework. Today we will talk more about it, and towards the end we will talk more about benchmarking and how to do this in reality in our organizational setup. That is the background, and with these words I would like to start. Before I get in the topic, let me tell you a few words that, as you may be aware, that we have designed a program called Distribution Reform Upgrades and Management Project, which itself is a project under which this course is being conducted. And under distribution reforms, which is called the DRUM project, we have the vision of creating a center of excellence of power distribution, where we are trying to promote these concepts of performance benchmarking, monitoring, improvement, and so on and so forth. Today, therefore, I thought that it would have been appropriate for us to talk something on DRUM project, what this project is all about, what we are doing, and then we will get into the topic. DRUM is a project in which, as I've told you, we are trying to create a center of excellence of power distribution. So, in fact, there are 4 pilot sites we have chosen to replicate best practice concepts, and where we are doing all this performance monitoring and benchmarking. Before we get into again the topic, you all are aware of that all power professionals today are having a huge challenge. We all know that Electricity Act 2003 has been mandated, and for the first time in the Indian history, in the Indian electricity history, we are talking about market evolution, we are talking about customer sovereignty. Now we are having more and more regulatory oversight, and which we are trying, in fact, regulatory oversight in effect will bring in an era of performance-based regulation, and there performance benchmarking will be very, very relevant. You know, again, all of us are aware of the fact that in the era of globalization, customers' expectations are going up, 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 up. They're really progressively increasing. Quality, availability of supply, cost of power being monitored by them. Today, 15 years ago, you see the telecom industry, they have gone up a few notches. See the kind of revolution which has happened in the banking industry. See the revolution which has happened in the insurance sector, in the oil industry. Given the fact, power industry will have to come up to that level so that we, the power professionals, can say that we are as good as you are. We are, as service provider, can compete with all of them. So it's a new challenge, my dear friends. Against that context, we have to see the benchmarking. And new technology is emerging on the power landscape. Every day, 10 years ago, energy accounting was unheard of. 10 years ago, automated meter reading was unheard of. Prepaid metering, SCADA, GIS, all this new, a new wind of technology is blowing across this sector. At the same point of time, we have to increase our network length to manage our load. So, we are having unbridled network growth. It's happening. At the same point of time, employee motivation is still an issue. We need to understand that we have to keep our employees committed, motivated, cost effective and cohesive. So therefore, challenges enormous to all of you. But still, the results are not very, very encouraging. Go to any lanes and bylanes of Delhi. Why Delhi? Go to any place in India. You will find dissatisfied consumers. You will find inadequate network. You will find our work systems are very, very complicated, tedious, and hemorrhaged exchequer. The point is that huge T&D losses, huge ATC losses, and at the same point of time, employee motivation is going down. Situation is not very, very encouraging. But still, we, the new vanguards of power industry, will have to take note of that and guard up our loins so that we can make a new era. We can usher in a new era in the power utility business. New paradigms of change, we have to bring it. And how to bring it? We are doing that under DRUM. I will talk about a little bit of DRUM, and then I will get into the subject once again. It's very, very relevant. We have to focus on the last mile of electricity value chain. We have to have the beginning at the end. Customer satisfaction, which is called availability, reliability, cost, plus good customer relationship, should lead to customer satisfaction, beginning at the end. Against this context, DRUM analytic framework is being designed, which would like to make a substantive impact on the people, process, and technology. You know, people means organizational structure, work management system, your compensation, training, work analysis, and so on and so forth. Then, processes. In any utility, power utility business, there are 5 generic processes: asset management, system operation and dispatch, field operation, customer processes, and corporate processes. These are the 5 generic processes. Whatever we do, we have to understand, and we have to keep in mind that these are the 5 generic processes. In terms of technology, as I've told you, distribution ware, metering equipment, your O&M equipment, computing, telecommunication, they are the most important adoptions we have to make in today's world. So as a DRUM framework, we have to make impact on people, on process, and on technology. Against this context, we will talk about the center of excellence. We have to create, in fact under DRUM we are trying to create a center of excellence that embodies the best practices, about which we'll talk more. Then, key performance indicators. Yesterday, I know there's been a lot of talk being done on the key performance indicators, the algorithm, their periodicity, the benchmarking. Algorithm means how to calculate the KPIs. Then periodicity means how often we should calculate these KPIs. And then how to compare these parameters with others. The best in the world, the best in the country, the best in the company. And then to ensure that the company will remain viable despite providing best of the services to customers, despite meeting or beating the regulators' requirements, and so on and so forth. Just to give you a taste of what are these best practices we are talking about. For example, under asset management, asset management means those activities which are related to the planning and management of the physical assets employed in providing high quality service to the customers. Process components. For example, the first one is the system planning. Many ways you can do the system planning, but some planning method will be objective, some will be subjective, meaning thereby somebody will say that in Delhi in 2021 the load of Delhi will become 20,000 megawatt. Somebody will say no, it will become 10,000 megawatt, meaning thereby there should not be so much of subjectivity in such kind of system planning. You can do regression method. There are many methods through which you can do system planning, and that is what we are talking about. Capital expenditure. You have to do cost benefit analysis of capital expenditure you are incurring. You must have got a long-term investment plan, short-term capital budget, and then major project management, system mapping that talks about GIAs, GPAs. You must have got a computerized system to do this system mapping. So these are the best practices an organization must do for the betterment of the organization. Similarly, system operation and dispatch. You see, system operation and dispatch means, suppose you as a power utility person will have to do what? Day ahead scheduling. Tomorrow, how much quantum of power I require? Tomorrow, how much quantum of power I require in terms of my demand, in terms of my energy. Accordingly, I will tie up with the traders, I will tie up with the generators. Short-term planning. So, real-time power supply monitoring and control, state estimated to estimate load flow on hourly, weekly, monthly basis to ensure 24-hour stable parallel operation with the neighboring grids. Like this energy audit and accounting, I think to all Indian power professionals now, energy accounting and auditing have been firmly ingrained. I don't have to say a lot of words on that. Operational load forecasting, as I told you, power procurement from market. Like this field operation, how you are doing a maintenance? Should I do preventive maintenance? Should I do just-in-time maintenance? Should I do predictive maintenance? You have to decide on that. Revenue expenditure analysis, asset outage, vendor performance appraisal. Like this. For example, then again the customer processes, metering, billing, collection, then customer relationship management. We are talking about performance monitoring. What is performance? Why we are talking about performance? Performance means whether we are able to do time compression, cost reduction, or resource optimization, and in the process can satisfy, if not delight, the customers. Corporate processes, executive management, whether we can use the good to great principles, whether we can do the right kind of management selection, decentralized management. Somebody will do Six Sigma, somebody will do a lot of KPIs, balanced scorecard, about which we will talk more down the line. Marketing and sales, you all understand, this is a new concept emerging on the horizon of power industry. So, what we have done in Drum, we are trying to create a best practice document of each individual power company and asking them to do investment so that we can create a model of power distribution. That's the ultimate goal of all of us. And now we'll talk about benchmarking. What is benchmarking? We have to learn first, then benchmark, and then change the organization. That's the feeling. Learn, benchmark, and then change. That's the feeling. If we can do that, that is what we can achieve a lot of success as an organization through that. So thereby, we all understand that we have been talking about customer satisfaction, delight, and so on and so forth. But we all understand how customers can be satisfied, can be delighted. In today's world, we are no longer talking about customer satisfaction or delight, my dear friend. We are talking about customer expectation management. Ultimate aim of all of us who are in the power industry is to get the consumer's affection. Consumers should be very, very friendly, comfortable with us, and that's our aim. And therefore, we have to manage their expectation. So, therefore, customers' perceptions are as important as our performance measures. We can say that there is no outage in this area, but what customer says, that is more important than what we say. Therefore, customers' perception management is as important as the performance measures we're talking about. Performance measures or KPIs, they will bring some inside-out perspective. But today, we have to take into account the outside-in perspective as well. Thereby, the real kind of enmeshing can take place. Now, there can be hundreds and hundreds of KPIs. Which one I should use? There are 4 selection criteria people say we have to take into account. Are they measurable? Measurability? Are they material? Materiality? Controllability? Can the utility control them? And predictability. Measurability means we can measure them in a transparent manner, in a very understandable manner. We don't have to use a lot of statistical theories to come out with the KPI. Very simple, there should be very simple logic of calculation for deriving the performance measures of KPIs. And thereby, the utility can be expected to make substantial improvement. Then again, materiality. There can be many KPIs. But are they material, relevant to our function? Are they important to us? Are they important to us? That is the most important thing. So measurability, materiality, then controllability. The utility must be able to control them. Otherwise, suppose if we try to find out a KPI called number of storms in a year, the utility cannot control them. There is no point in calculating them from the utility perspective. Maybe from the customer's perspective that has got importance. Then again, predictability. If they are not predictable, how we can ask somebody to calculate, to set some kind of threshold limit which we call floor level, which an utility will have to achieve. Next comes the target level, which they should do. Next comes the distinguished level. That's the level, if somebody can achieve beyond the target, that is what we should try to achieve. So these are the selection criteria for performance measures. Now, KPIs, yesterday you had a lot of discussion on that, I know, but still before talking about performance improvement guidebook or any kind of toolkit, I thought it would have been appropriate to again go back to those KPIs, not all those you have been talked about, a few of them, so that we can understand what KPIs is all about. First is system demographics and design. As a power professional, you have to do I'm sure you have to do lot of planning. System demographics and design are of immense importance to us. So is the availability, reliability and quality of power supply. Cost and profitability, employee productivity, human capacity building, training of people, customer service. These are the focus areas on which we have to lay emphasis on. And for example, system design and demographics. What is that? You all know there is something called load factor. Load factor will give us an indication regarding how much revenue, how much energy will be consumed. So load factor means average by peak, the way it has been defined. I mean, units consumed in a given period divided by maximum demand into hours in the period. Some organizations will do, or all organizations should do it on the basis of its month-wise as well as year-wise. Month-wise load factor and year-wise load factor will differ. There is no doubt about it. For example, irrigational load, agricultural load, the kind of load factor we'll have in the agricultural load during the monsoon period or during the cropping season will always be much more than the non-cropping season. There is no doubt about it. But so month-wise it will vary. Month-wise it may be 75%, 60%, 75%. But at the same point of time, on an annual basis, maybe the load factor is 25%. Is it possible? I hope you can understand. Month-wise and annual-wise. Some factor called loss factor. What is loss factor? Very simple. You see, in a system, you have to calculate the I²R loss, the technical loss which is there in a circuit. You can do it. You can always say I²R, but this value of I, load current, will vary from time to time, will definitely vary from time to time. It will not remain constant. So therefore, how we can calculate? Therefore, we have to have this factor called loss factor. Loss factor into I²R. That will give me the total loss for a given period of time. Meaning thereby, but how to get this loss factor? The formula, it's a very empirical formula. 0.15 into load factor plus 0.85 into load factor square. That's how you have to calculate. Meaning thereby, if you can do that way, you can calculate the technical losses that is there in a circuit. Similarly, peak responsibility factor. You see, there can be many individual loads in a circuit, but while you are doing some kind of a system planning, you have to think that these loads cannot be summated to get the maximum demand, because therefore we have the diversity factor. At the same point of time, these loads will contribute to certain extent in the system peak. So that contribution is articulated through peak responsibility factor. Similarly, diversity factor, as I've told you, sum of the maximum demand of individual loads divided by maximum demand of the system. Diversity factor meaning thereby you have many loads, residential, commercial, industrial, your agricultural, so on and so forth. You add all of them divided by the maximum demand recorded in the system. That will give you the diversity factor. Somebody in the, are you getting it? Somebody in designing, somebody will use consumers per distribution circuit kilometer. Believe me, in India we are having a very huge consumer density. You know, in our rural area, the consumer density per circuit kilometer may be of the order of 200, 300. More than 200, less than 300, definitely. You know, in the US rural areas, what is the consumers per distribution circuit kilometer? Believe me, there are some rural cooperatives in US where it is 3, 4, in some cases 7, 8. Maybe they have got more loads, but they are very few and far between. It's not like the Byzantine or the very crowded lanes and bylanes we have all across this great country. So therefore, you have to take into account these factors while designing. Consumers per distribution circuit kilometer, consumers per pole. Go to Hardwar. See, from one pole, if in those gullies of Hardwar, you will find 40, 50 consumers are connected from one pole. And you know, so, I mean, but go to other places, there are poles and poles from which no consumers are connected. Ratio of 11 kV lines to 33 kV lines to 11 kV lines, ratio of 11 kV to 6 kV lines. Today, HT into LT ratio, they are so important. In India, still the HT is to LT ratio. If there are 1 circuit kilometer of HT, there are at least 3 circuit kilometer of LT. You know, in US, it is just the reverse. In the rural areas, everything is HT. There is hardly an LT line. There, I mean, there the ratio should be 1:20 or something like that. I mean, 1 circuit kilometer of LT corresponds to 20 circuit kilometer of HT. Maybe in the metros like New York, Los Angeles, and so on and so forth, there the ratio will be 3:1, meaning thereby 3 HT, 1 LT. In India, it is just opposite, because we have adopted initially the European method of network construction, not the North American style, where we went for unbridled LT expansion. Our idea was least cost planning. Make the power available to all villages. Energize at least one supply in a village, and we will call the villages electrified. That was our idea. Least cost planning, low cost. So therefore LT cost is less, go for LT. Meaning thereby we added more and more loss to the system. Today we are talking about high voltage distribution system because we have understood that LT, expansion of LT has led to a real problem. The people who love to there are many sections of our consumers. They are adopting unfair means. And if you have LT lines, all of you know, you all are power professionals. They know how to tinker and how to tap, how to have Cartiers on those lines so that they can enjoy electricity without paying a single penny. But if there is a high tension line, they cannot access 11 kV line, 6 kV, in some metros still we have 6 kV line. So they cannot access 11 kV lines. So therefore, we are adding to our losses. Our losses are going up day by day. Now of course, we are for the last 4-5 years, a lot of efforts have been made, APDRP program and many electricity boards are trying to arrest the loss, but still the losses are mounting in many areas of the country. Though we have got 150 odd towns now under APDRP program where the losses are less than 15%, but still it is no way compared to the world standard. In world there are cities up to cities like New York, Los Angeles, they are having a loss of 6 to 7%. Only technical losses. The Americans, they are not exploiting their intellect to find out how they can pilfer. And there are no people in US perhaps who are fighting it out on the streets just like all of you to arrest the losses. See how much of human productivity of India is being wasted perhaps to arrest losses. Because somebody in our society who are doing it. In US they can use those time, or why US, in Japan, Germany, everywhere, they can really utilize those time more effectively, isn't it? So, ratio of underground cable to overhead circuit, all of you understand what is underground cable. It is there especially in the metros like Mumbai, Calcutta, Ahmedabad, Delhi, in some Pune, Pune not, I am not very sure, where the underground cable is there, overhead lines are there. More the underground line, more is the possibility of giving stable and quality power supply to the people. But at the same point of time, if there is a fault, it will take longer time to restore the supply, and therefore you have to have a looped network so that you are having a ring main circuit, and if one section is faulty, through other section you can restore the supply. In the overhead network, generally we do not go for the loop system because we can arrest the fault
in the minimum time.
At minimum time and restore the supply. Then again, the poles per circuit kilometer. In the rural areas, 11 kV poles. What's the minimum span length? 70, 80. In urban area, it is less. It all depends on how much sag we are allowing. There was an electricity rules which still we have inherited. Electricity rules specifies the sag which we can have on our circuit so that we can decide upon the span length. So it will vary depending on the design practices you have adopted. Then the network connectivity redundancy factor. You might have got kilometers after kilometers of circuit length. Are they looped? If they are looped, meaning if they are fed through ring main circuit, then there is a lesser possibility of supply being kept off for a longer period of time. So, if we make our system looped, that will give us more redundancy in the network. So we can find out circuit kilometer of the loop network divided by total network. That will give you some element of satisfaction, especially in cities like Calcutta, Mumbai. If you go there, you will see most of the underground system that is looped. You have got ring main network. Now we will talk about something on availability, reliability and quality. Yesterday I am very sure Mr. Goel must have talked about it. SID. What is SID? System Average Interruption Duration Index. How to calculate that? Duration of outage into customers affected. Summation of that divided by total number of customers. Let me explain to you. Why we are having customers into the duration of outage. One feeder which is having one customer or maybe 10 customers. The other feeder might have 100 customers. So which feeder is more important to me? The feeders having 100 customers. It is just the weighted average. What we are doing over here, the feeders are being weighted with the number of consumers it is having. It is just weighted average. So therefore we can calculate hours. In India, at our drum side, we are calculating the SID, SIFI, all these figures. SID figures, if we forget about all these forced outage, which third-party intervention and so on and so forth, if we exclude them, still, believe me, on any overhead system, we are getting at least 60 to 70 hours of outage per consumer in all these places. In US, 2 hours is the standard, 2 hours. Because they can design their network in such a manner that these outages do not take place. I mean, if you go for 2 hours is the median value, I mean, there are other consumers which are less than 2 hours, maybe 6 hours is the consumers who are rather utilities who are not performing well. I mean, we are definitely competing with the US IT industry, but as far as power industry is concerned, we have to go a few more notches to come up to that standard. CAIDI, Customer Average Interruption Duration Index, total number of customers interruption, meaning thereby, a customer, if there is an outage, customer will ask you only two things: when the supply will be back, and how many times the supply will go off. These are the two things customer will tell you. If there is an outage, the first thing that strikes the customer is when the supply will be back. CAIDI tells you that figure. If it is says 90 minutes, customer will have to wait for 90 minutes. If it is say 1 hour, customer will be 1 hour. So generally there is a formula, SID by SIFI, I will talk about SIFI now. The second is SIFI means System Average Interruption Duration Index, meaning thereby instances. How many times the supply will be off during a year? 2 times, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times. I don't know in India it is how many times. It must be more than 100 times in many places. But in US, the average is 1.3 times. That's the median value. Only less than, just more than 1 time the supply will be off during the year. We are definitely, again, as I've told you, we are lagging far behind. Similarly, something called MIFI. In a rural area, you have this problem of MIFI, meaning thereby momentary interruptions. Supply went off and came back. Also, this is there in Delhi as well, from where I'm talking to you. Because overhead network, supply goes off, then the substation operator again switches on, supply is restored. I'm so happy that there is a transient fault. But MIFI also causes lot of anger and anguish to your privileged consumers. And if he is an industrial consumer, industry is being severely affected because of momentary interruptions, because he has to again restart after prolonged, and their production schedule really goes helter-skelter. So, therefore, the SID, CAIDI, SIFI, MIFI, these are all the figures. I will request all of you to learn this. And then again, in some cases, frequency of sustained outage per 100 circuit kilometer. You see, the frequency means there can be interruption, as I have told you. How many times a feeder is subjected to fault, sustained outage? For in a 100 circuit kilometer, how many times a feeder should be subjected to sustained outage? Meaning thereby, 100 circuit kilometer means generally in India, I mean in the rural area, forget about it, a feeder length is more than 50-60 circuit kilometers. But generally, say if it is 20-30, so for a 3-4 feeders, I mean, how many outages you can give in a year? So therefore, I mean, this value should not be more than 5 and 6. That should be the value. Number of 11 kV trippings per 100 circuit kilometers. Same thing, momentary tripping. Average minutes of customer outage due to failure of distribution equipment. You know, the customer supply can be affected either by failure of the distribution equipment or failure of the line. We have talked about the failure of the line. Now, there can be some kind of there can be an instance where the customer, where the distribution equipment has failed and customer supply is being affected. We can always calculate that. There is a term called mean time between failure. Once a failure has occurred to an equipment, when will be the next instance? Transformers, cables, cable joints, switch gears, meters. For transformers, it should be more than 20 years. Cables, 15 years, more than 15 years. Cable joints, more than 15 years. Switch gears, more than 15 years. Meters, more than 15 years. Annual failure rate, power transformers, distribution transformers, meters. You see, in US again, why in US? Go to companies like China Light and Power in Hong Kong. Go to any companies in Japan. Go to any other, I mean, I'm not talking about this specific power and gas in New York City. I'm not talking about Los Angeles Gas and Power. All the cooperatives. You see, there the failure rate of transformer is much less than 1%. In our case, in some of the utilities, I'm sure many people may not tell me the right figure, it's more than 20%. Because our design is not correct, because we are not putting the right kind of protective arrangement in the transformers, and so on and so forth. We'll talk about it again later on. Meters. Meter failure is a very common phenomenon in India. Meters, you know, generally meters, why there should be more than 1% failure rate of meters? There should not be. So, the point I am trying to emphasize is failure rate. We have to see failure rate. If a failure has occurred, when the next failure will take place, mean time between failure. So, you need to, you all as creative, innovative power professionals will have to have your own standards for your own utility. This is how to calculate the SAIDI, SAIFI, CAIDI. I thought that you are going to take an exam at some point of time, and then somebody might ask you to calculate SAIDI, SAIFI, CAIDI given some figures. You have to calculate it. This is the calculation, how you have to provide the weightages to all the customers and how to calculate this. Very simple calculation. Some people say that, should I take generation, transmission, distribution faults as well? Yes, we try to take it. Sometimes we calculate SAIDI, SAIFI figures without the grid outage. Sometimes we include them, sometimes we exclude them. Whatever is the method, I mean, you have to know how to calculate them. Therefore, we have given this calculations, how to calculate this. I mean, you must learn and you should try to implement this. Now we'll talk about cost and profitability. You see, in India, the fact remains that our ATC losses, aggregate technical and commercial losses, are very, very high. This term aggregate technical and commercial loss is a very, very new term. It came in 2001 when Delhi was privatized. Before that, we were all talking about collection efficiency as well as your T&D losses, which is technical, and which is your T&D is transmission and distribution losses. As told by our previous Prime Minister, it is the theft and dacoity losses. So therefore, I mean, we have to understand how to calculate this, and therefore we have given these calculations. How to get the energy import, energy billed, amount realized. Meaning thereby, if you have billed somebody 10 paise or 10 rupees, you have to get the 10 rupees from that man as well. If you do not get it, there is no point in saying that we have billed them, but we have not been able to recover the money from them. So, the unique thing about ATC losses are, you have to factor in technical and distribution losses and commercial and collection efficiency as well. So therefore, you know how to get the energy import, energy billed, amount realized, collection efficiency, energy realized. If you know your collection efficiency is 60%, you know 60 into this is the energy billed should be my energy realized. So energy realized, and then I know what is energy import. Energy import minus energy realized will give me the ATC losses, and if I can divide that losses with the energy import, I will get ATC losses. So that's how you have to calculate ATC losses. Maybe in the exam you will be asked to calculate this. You should know how to calculate this. Average sell rate, all of you understand this, what is average sell rate, I'm sure. Total billed amount divided by total units sold. Like this, total asset turnover, total billed amount divided by total asset. Inventory turnover, I am doing a lot of O&M at the site, but I have to ensure that I have the right kind of material at the right amount, of course, which I have procured the right price, at the right place, to ensure that my customers are being served in a timely manner. In that context, inventory turnover is very, very important. At the same point of time, I should not have huge amount of inventory. Inventory means what? My working capital. I am blocking the working capital in my inventory. For what? Therefore, I am paying a price for that. I shouldn't do that. So, I have to benchmark that as well. Investment to inventory ratio. I mean, all of us know we are doing a lot of capital works. How much inventory I've kept for that? You have to know this. The next is return on capital employed. Very simple. You see, you have to get some return. You know, electricity industry, we are talking about corporatization. There are some private utilities as well. I am very sure some of the people who are working in a private utility are participating in this program. My only point is, you know that why I should invest money in the electricity industry. Why should I invest money in Reliance Energy, in AEC, in Tata Power, in CESL Limited? Why? Why should not? Because if I invest that money as an investor, I can invest the money to stock exchange. That will give me 14-15% return, 10% return. But maybe there is a lot of uncertainties there. But why should I do that? Why shouldn't I do that rather? Why should I spend money on this? Why should I buy the shares of BSES or Reliance Energy or Tata Power for that matter? From that perspective, return on capital employed is very, very important. You know, all of you, if you're working in a circle, working in a subdivision, division, all of you are working in a profit center. That's the idea also we are trying to promote on the drum as well. All these small units should be considered as profit center. So, therefore, they should have their income and expenditure statement. They should have their asset and liability statement. Asset and liability statement means balance sheet. Income and expenditure statement means profit and loss account. So, if you can have a P&L statement or balance sheet, you can calculate return on capital employed. Generally, in the past, in the past Act of Electricity Act and then Supply Act, generally 16% not on return on, there was no concept of return on capital employed at that time. We were getting some kind of a return out of the asset we have developed. Okay. So now today we are talking more about the return on capital employed. I mean, then again, we have to understand that next is cost and under cost and profitability, unrealized revenue per rupees sales. You see, unrealized revenue per rupee sales. You can say that I have made a sale of 100 crore, but you are not getting 100 crore. Something you are not going to get back. That is called bad debt. In your accounts, you will charge it off as a bad debt, meaning thereby you are not expecting that money to be returned to you. You are not expecting that you are going to realize that amount. So that bad debt divided by gross sales, that will give you unrealized revenue per rupee sales, meaning thereby, you know that if I generally, in the credit card industry, it is very, very important. In our industry as well, regulator says in most of the regulators that you have to keep it within 0.5%. Okay. The repair and maintenance per unit of sales, repair and maintenance expenses for a given period divided by total units billed for the same period by say per unit of sale. Why? You see, more the sale, more may not be the repair and maintenance expense. We have to have some kind of a cap on that. That will help you in planning. Similarly, administrative expenses. Admin expense divided by total units billed. So you have to understand paise per unit of sale. How much will be my admin expense if I sell 1 unit? How much will be the expense for my repair expense? How much will be the employee cost as well? These are the 3 components for my O&M expenses: employee cost, admin cost, and repair and maintenance. You must have got a breakdown of that as well. And then sometimes people say, no, don't go for the sales. Go for O&M per unit of energy import. This is the energy you have imported. And how much is the total O&M cost? Divide total O&M cost divided by total units of energy imported. That will give you the O&M cost per unit of energy import. That level of correctness. Similarly, why do you spend money on the repair and expenses? Why? Repairing of poles, conductors, why you have to do that? What are the cost drivers for them? Number 1, circuit kilometer. More the length of the line, more will be the repair and expenses. Maybe. What the next driver is consumers. More the consumers, more can be the repair and expenses. Similarly, as I told you previously, sales, energy import. So, based on that too, repair and maintenance cost per circuit kilometer we should know. We should know repair and maintenance cost per 1,000 consumers as well. This will give you lot of in-depth data. You see, all these performance measures we are doing to make our organization more data driven. All of you must know data is very, very important. Once I've got a data and given a meaning to a data, data will lead to information. Data, then information, and then knowledge. If I am a repository of information, I will be a knowledgeable person. That's the hierarchy. Data, information, knowledge. If I am hugely knowledgeable, I will be called a wise man. So therefore, data, information, knowledge, and then wisdom. That's the hierarchy. All of you must understand what is the purpose of this KPIs and so on and so forth. Now, in all organizations, people mix or merge. People are the most important ingredient of an organization. All organizations are having similar kind of resource structure, physical resource, financial resource, so on and so forth. But what differentiates one organization from the other is the people. You have to appreciate that people are the most important and valuable asset. People is the asset which makes or runs all other assets. People are the resources which controls other resources. Therefore, people productivity is so important. What is productivity? Productivity means this year we have done so much of revenue with 100 people. Next year, maybe with the 100 people, we are doing the same amount X plus delta. So, next year, the productivity of the people has gone up. My revenue per person has gone up. My productivity has gone up. So, in that context, a lot of parameters have been defined. Number of employees per 1,000 consumers.
Mr. Mukherjee will continue this discussion in the next session. Now there is a time for the break of short break for the 15 minutes.
Okay.
So we will take a short break of the 15 minutes and we will meet again at 10:15. I would like to thank our ARD and PIC at Rajkot who has sent the feedback regarding the attendance. Though we received this feedback for the yesterday telephonically also from him, I have received the facts for today and as well as for the yesterday's attendance. So thank you to Rajkot, and I hope I'll receive the phone call as well as the fax or through other modes the attendance at the other centers also. Thank you. We will again assemble here at 10:15. Thank you.